Welcome to the Coffee with Cheryl Podcast, the podcast for women over 50 who want to live their best life right now. Imagine having the courage to reinvent your life financially, professionally, personally, and spiritually. Join Cheryl and guests as they share practical tips and resources to inspire you to achieve the lifestyle of your dreams. So grab your favorite mug. It's time for Coffee with Cheryl.
Welcome to the Coffee with Cheryl podcast, a podcast for women over 50 who want to live their best life right now. I am your host, Cheryl Garrison. I am the founder and CEO of 50 Something Lifestyle, and I'm so glad to be back for our season number 3. We've had a bit of a break, and we'll talk about that today, as the title of our podcast today is Living Your Best Life After the Storm. And I can tell you that the last few months, the first part of 2025, I have been through a storm, and I'm coming out of that storm, and I want to share that with you during this podcast and share some of the things that I will be doing in the next few months to really focus on living your life to the fullest, getting unstuck, and thriving after you've gone through a storm. So I want to welcome you to season 3, and we'll have some very interesting guests this season, guests who will share with you not just their businesses and opportunities for you to work with them, but also share how they've come through some storms, and how, as women over 50, no matter what we're going through, we have what's inside us to thrive and to come out on the other side stronger. I also want to talk more this coming season about my faith, because that is truly what got me through the last few months. I've always been a believer, always had faith, but boy, hasn't it been tested in the last few months. And if you have a belief, and I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but if you do, there are things in your life that happen that make you tap into that strength. And we'll talk about the importance of doing that, especially in our 50-somethings, after we've gone through many of the things that we encounter on our way to 50-something and beyond. I want to, as always, start with a quote. Our quote for the beginning of season 3 is, "You can't control the storm, but you can choose who you will become inside it." And so this is also a good quote to get us started, because really it's about becoming who we were meant to be. Getting through storms help us to really tap into why am I here? What is my purpose? What was I meant to do? We truly tap into that, whether we are going through health issues like I've gone through, or financial issues, been there also, relationship issues, or we may have lost a spouse in these last few months. We may be facing new careers or looking for new careers, which is very, very hard to do in your 50-somethings. But whatever storm that you are coming through or going through, I want to use this podcast to talk about how to thrive after you get out of that storm, how to live your best life after your storm. Now, I wrote an ebook recently, and you will be able to download that ebook starting today after the podcast. And that ebook really talks about my journey through breast cancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the beginning of January. and had no idea that anything was wrong. It was a routine mammogram. I figured I'd go through like the others, and they would call, or I wouldn't get a call, and all would be okay. And I keep going. In fact, I needed to keep going because 2025 for me was bringing in two new grandbabies. My daughter, her baby was due April 8th, and she's here now. Little Miss Olivia Rose is here. And I didn't know at the beginning of January if I would be able to not only just hold her, but even be able to see her once I got that call. And in July, I am also, my son and his wife, they're having our first grandchild from he and she. And so 2025 is bringing two new grandbabies to me, and I already have three. And so when I got that call that you have breast cancer, I immediately go with where a lot of us go, like, what I've had too many friends who passed away with breast cancer, just to be honest, or who have had to go through some devastating periods of their life with chemo and radiation. And I immediately went there, and I immediately thought, Lord, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to see those grandbabies? How am I going to do some of the things that I had planned? At the end of the year, I always make plans for 50-something lifestyle and becoming 50-something publications. I had things that big things I wanted to do this year. And I also wanted to do the sequel to my new book, Legacy, that I published last year. So I had plans, I had goals. There were things I wanted to do. I was not ready to get that call that said, you have breast cancer. And so I immediately, first I wanted to fall apart, but I know that that's not an answer to anything. So I thank God that I know that. But I also knew that this was one of them that Cheryl couldn't just say, okay, I'll get through this. I had to tap into my faith. I had to start praying. I had to start asking God to make sure that, first of all, that I was healed, and secondly that after the healing, I'd be in the condition to where I could not just hold grandbabies, but also care for them if I wanted to. And I knew that coming up through the church, I knew that Romans 8:28 was always the scripture I lived by. And so I knew that all things work together. So I said, that's what I immediately tapped into, that I need this to be one of those all. I need this to be that all things that I want in life, and this is selfish, but all things that I want in life will work because I give my time, talent, and treasure to you, God. So I immediately started tapping into my faith and realized that it didn't have to be separate from what I do every day. It never has been, not within me, but it was sort of buried in other things outwardly. And I knew that coming through that, moving forward, it could no longer be something that I just do internally. It had to be something that I had to share, that who I am and how God has brought me through can also help other people as well. And no, I'm not an evangelist. I'm not going to be preaching, but I just wanted to really just let you know that that's who I am, and that's going to be a theme of who I am as I move forward. So I wrote this book, After the Storm, and I tell a part of my story. I'll tell more of that story in a book later on, to be released later on this year. But I wanted to really talk about how to after the storm, how to get to that woman that we were meant to be. I know there were things more in my life that I was meant to do than what I was doing. And so coming out of that storm, I couldn't come out of it the same. And I say that to you as well. You can't come out of your storm the same. There has to be some kind of transformation. So I share in After the Storm, very short ebook, some of the strategies and some of the ways that I got through breast cancer. And I want to announce I am breast cancer free. I am cancer free. So that's how amazing God can be in your life. I ask for that to be the case. And I sit here now free of cancer, but I can't be the same person that talked to you in the last podcast, because it didn't have to be this way. And I have friends going through breast cancer right now that it's not that way for them. They're struggling, they're losing their hair, they're sick. I haven't been through any of that. And it was because of some of the decisions I made for my treatment, and you'll read about that in the book. But it's also because I went through Isaiah 53 and 5, and by your stripes, that was my constant call, that I wanted to come out of this healed and come out of this whole and come out of this able to really, really help women transform their lives on so many levels. It doesn't have to be on the spiritual level. That's up to you. But you have it within you, and within whatever thing you have in you that you rely on, that higher power, to get through these storms and thrive and come out with some of the most amazing things that can happen in your life. So After the Storm will be available for download. You will receive information on Facebook and through email if you're on our email list. Or if you're not, in the comments, drop your email and I will send you a link to where you can download the book. And I want to share with you my journey and how after the storm, you can come out to be the woman that you know that you were meant to be. We do a lot of things as we get to 50 something, and many of them are just phenomenal. But there's so much more that we have if we just tap into that person, that servant that we were meant to be. And my whole goal in 2025 and beyond is to help you realize that and see that and know that when I say live your best life right now, it really isn't just talking. It's really about doing it and putting the strategies together, making the action plans, putting the plans together. So first, I want to share that book with you. And then I'm going to be having some classes come up in the near future. I believe May 14th will be the first class on how to thrive after the storm. And that is going to include putting together some steps that will help you create a plan of fulfillment and purpose, that at the end of it, when you're done with that, that you will see your way to being that woman that you were meant to be. So in season 3, it's going to be about um, survival. And survival is not about suffering. Survival is about being able to find that thing within you that takes you to a totally new level, that gives you a totally new life. Like the quote, you can't control the storm, but you can choose who you become inside of it. And I can tell you, having come through these last months of surgery and um, therapy and all the things that I'm going through after getting that call that you have breast cancer, what I am becoming and who I plan to become, who I was meant to become as I move forward. And we're going to also talk about the importance of mammogram. Thank God this was detected early. And if you haven't had a mammogram, I encourage you to do that. Schedule it today. Talk to your girlfriends if they haven't scheduled it, if they haven't had one in a while, encourage them. Because this is one cancer that we know that if you detect it early, there's the life for you is a lot different from those who don't. So I hope that just me sharing a little bit of that will help you to start looking at your life and not just swirling in the wind and the rain and the thunder and the lightning of your storm, but finding your way through it and on the other side of it. And that's what we will talk about in the next coming months, how to thrive after the storm. And part of that is getting unstuck and being able to make the moves that will help you to step out of those, I call them cement blocks, that keep us just stuck in the storm rather than being able to move out. And you will also hear more about what a new program, the Unstuck Method, as we move forward into 2025. So there's going to be lots of coaching available for you if you feel that there's something inside and you know you're not living that life that you were meant to live. And you're going to also be able to share with other women who are finding their way through the storm. And we're going to find our way into the most fulfilling, purposeful, outstanding life that we can live in our 50-something. So ladies, I hope you will join me on this journey. And over the next few months, you'll hear more and more about what I've been through and how I'm actually moving forward through it. And also how you too, again, whether it's a financial storm, whether it's a storm in a relationship, whether it's a storm in your profession, a storm in your business, a storm with your children, it doesn't matter the storm, as long as you know that, first of all, there is a God that will help you get through it. And you also know that you have it within yourself by taking action and putting together a plan to make sure that you come through your storm with more purpose and more passion and more love, and we'll be able to get through this together. So I hope you are having a wonderful Cinco de Mayo, May 5th, and that you will also take the time to download After the Storm and then sign up for Thriving After the Storm, so that together we can put together a plan for you to live your best life after your storm. Again, thank you for being with me through these last 2 seasons of Coffee with Cheryl. And I look forward to hanging out with you this season. And we're going to have some really exciting guests and some exciting topics. I have a whole bunch of them that are already ready for me to share with you. So stay tuned. And again, have just the most outstanding May 5th possible. Remember, you don't have to live your best life tomorrow. You don't have to live your best life 3 years from now. You can live your best life right now, today.